Oh, that's cool. All right. Good evening. This is item 1, roll call. I'm now calling the Tuesday, September 21st, 2021 regular meeting of the Los Altos County Fire Commission to order. The time is 7:01 p.m. Please note that in support of the physical distancing during the local public health emergency in accordance with Gavin Newsom's executive order that relaxed Brown Act rules during the public health crisis, we are conducting the meeting via video conference. Because we are video conferencing, we will follow a strict protocol for the benefit of the recording. I will indicate when commissioner, staff, presenters, and the public will provide comments. If you have called into the meeting and are not using a webcam, please state your name prior to providing your comment. For the benefit of the recording, please consider video conferencing etiquette by muting your line when you are not speaking and limiting distracted behavior on camera. District Clerk Vargas, please conduct the roll call.
Okay. Commissioners, I will be conducting all roll calls this evening in the same order. Please remember the order so that you are prepared to provide your comment or vote. President Warren.
Present.
Vice President Vaughn.
You're muted, Melvin.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Kearney. Commissioner Sherlock.
Present.
Commissioner Spreen.
Here.
Commissioner Tonka.
Yeah.
Commissioner Tyson.
Here.
And we have 6 commissioners present out of the 7. For the benefit of the recording, I will also conduct a presenters, consultants, and staff roll call. Acting Fire Chief Glass.
Present.
Yeah, there, okay. Strategic Planning Consultant Scott.
Here.
Emergency Services Manager Captain Captain Luhan.
Present.
Integrated Hazardous Fuels Reduction Consultant Barnett.
Present.
General Manager Logan.
Present.
Lead Deputy County Counsel Cheladin.
Present.
CERT Program Analyst Beebe.
Present.
We have I. Bailey Representative, I write it there, Garavi.
Present.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm Fryer and Loretta Consulting Engineer Tarantina. Doesn't look like he's present. Okay, so presenters, consultants, and staff are accounted for.
Very good. We'll now move to item 2, which is the commission president's remark. So first, I want to thank Melvin and Roger, who over the last 2 meetings, July and August, when I was not able to attend, filled in for me, and I really appreciate them, doing that for me and picking up the slack. Today was really warm. I know a lot of people were enjoying the warm weather, but being part of this commission, it really kind of made me very concerned with, here we are at this late stage in September with the heat and the drought, and now they're talking about potential offshore flows, which are the really dangerous wind patterns, and so it made me think about all the good work that the people on this organization are doing in terms of shaded fuel breaks, CERT programs, integrated hazardous fuel reduction. And so, it makes me very proud to be part of this group and thankful for the staff and the commissioners who make this happen. And, we keep moving, as a boss of mine that I really respect to say, we keep moving the ball down the field each month. So I want to thank everyone for doing that. All right, that's item 2. We'll now move to item 3, which is public comment. Persons wishing to address the commission on any subject not on the agenda may do so now. Please note, however, the commission is not able to undertake extended discussions or actions tonight on items not on the agenda. Items may be referred to staff for appropriate action, which may include placement on the next available agenda. District policy is to limit public testimony to 3 minutes per speaker unless the number of speakers requires the commission president to impose a shorter time limit. Do we have any public comments on items not on the agenda?
Yes, we have 2 public comments. First will be Alan.
All right, Alan, please.
Yes, thank you. Actually, there are 2 questions. One question is whether or not there's been any contact between the county's consultant on the fire and emergency services study to the district. I'd be curious if you have any knowledge about how that study is progressing. Secondly, there's an item on the consent calendar, which is the August financial statement. I don't know whether that item will be pulled or not, but I'm curious about the hand crews that have been budgeted. $159,000 has been budgeted to be spent at this point in time. No money has been spent, and I have heard nothing about plans for hand crews. I'd be interested in learning what are the plans for this fiscal year with regards to hand crews. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Alan. So what I'll do is I will defer the LAHCFD to the general manager section and your comment about the hand crews to the financial consultant report. All right. Second, we have Anand.
Thank you for the opportunity. The Los Altos Hills City Council accepted the 2019 greenhouse gas inventory at their last meeting. According to that inventory, 27% of the town's municipal greenhouse gas emissions come from the diesel used by the fire district. I will not dwell on the irony of the fire district's emissions contributing to the very climate change that is resulting in these intense wildfires. But there is an easy solution: renewable diesel. It is chemically identical to conventional diesel and can be used as a drop-in replacement to conventional diesel. You will not need to change any machinery to start using it. And additionally, if you should ever have to switch back, that switch can also be made instantaneously. The advantage with renewable diesel comes from the fact that it is produced by a closed-loop system, thus eliminating any global warming impacts. Being 100% renewable, it is considered an almost completely clean fuel. This change can be made today and will result in a large and immediate reduction in the town's municipal emissions. I encourage the board to make all efforts to enable this change, and when those efforts have been made to make even more considerable efforts, future generations will thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Do we have any additional public speakers? Seeing none. All right. Thank you for your comments. We'll now move on to item 4, consent calendar and changes to the order of the agenda. We'll now move to item 4, the consent calendar and changes to the order of the Board of Commissions agenda. Are there any comments on items 4A through H from the staff on these items? Hearing none. Are there any questions from the commission on the items, or would any of the commissioners like to make changes to the consent calendar or order of the agenda? No, seeing none from my fellow commissioners. All right, so we're gonna adapt the consent calendar item 4A through H as is in the agenda. All right, I will now entertain a motion. Will the commissioner making the motion and the commissioner seconding the motion please state their name for the benefit of the recording?
Tyson moves approval of the consent items under item number 4.
Sherlock seconds.
Thank you. The item is open for discussion. Is there any discussion from the commission? Is there any public comment on this item? Hearing none. If there is no further discussion, we will now vote. District Clerk Vargas, please conduct a roll call vote.
Thank you. President Warren,
Approve.
Vice President Bond,
Approve.
Commissioner Sherlock,
Approved.
Commissioner Spreen,
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
Okay, and the motion passes 6-0 with 1 absent.
All right, we'll now move to item 5. Presentation of approval of the FY 20/2021 draft financial audit report. This is item 5A is the presentation. Financial Clerk Consultant Vargas, please introduce the item.
All right, thank you, President Warren. Commissioners, a draft of the fiscal year 2020-21 annual financial audit report is included with your packet. I have 2 changes that need to be made to this draft before we finalize. On page 3, the first bullet, the dollar amount that the assets exceeded liabilities by was missing. So that number is $30,993,252. And then on page, excuse me, page 9, in the second paragraph, the program projects and programs positive variance percentage, I put 500 something, it's actually 85%. So those are the two changes that I've heard about. And should there be any additional revisions after we've had our discussion tonight, I will incorporate them into the draft budget for adoption at tonight's meeting. And I will pass any of the revisions on to our auditors to incorporate into the final version of the FY21 financial audit, which will be approved at the October 19th, 2021 regular commission meeting. So I'd like to introduce Ahmad Garaibe from the auditing firm Eid Bailey, and he will provide a brief overview and answer any questions you might have. Ahmad, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Corey. Governing board, thank you for having me. These are the financial statements of the district, the annual financial report. Scope of the audit is to ensure that the financial statements are fairly stated. It is a process in which we confirm the account balances are reported on the financial statements. We confirm various assets, various types of revenues. We confirm your property taxes with the county controller, your cash with the county controller. So it is a process in which we ensure that the financial statements are fairly stated. Alongside with that, we actually do take a look at internal controls. That is a requirement by our audit standards. We take a look at the manner that you process receipts, disbursements, payroll. We look at the controls and the operating effectiveness of those controls. And then at the end of the audit, if we had no exceptions, we opine on the financial statements, indicating that the financial statements are fairly stated. I'm pleased to let you know that we had a clean opinion, meaning that the financial statements are fairly stated. We actually had no adjustments to the financial statements, and we noted no exceptions related to the internal control. Again, these financial statements are a mirror of the monthly financial reports that the district would give to you. We come in after the fact and we just confirm these amounts are fairly stated. And with that, I'll be more than happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you, financial consultant Vargas and Mr. Garaibe. Are there any clarifying questions from the commission? Any questions? All right, thank you. So I will now entertain a motion to adopt the draft financial audit. Will the commissioner making the motion and the commissioner seconding the motion please state the name for the benefit of the recording?
Commissioner Sherlock moves that we adopt the audit.
Draft audit.
Draft audit. The draft audit.
Thank you. Who was the second?
Commissioner Tonka.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Tonka. All right.
And I
So
just want to, oh, sorry to interrupt, just want to clarify. So we are approving this draft audit with the two changes that I
Correct.
described. Yeah.
Yes,
So-
Corey, you are correct. So the motion I should have said is to adopt the draft audit with the two corrections that Corey articulated earlier in the review process. Joan, do you still move? So move?
I so move.
And Kavita, do you still second?
I do.
Thank you. All right. The item is now open for discussion. Is there any discussion from the commission? Is there any public comment on this item? I see Alan, you've got your hand up.
Three comments to make. First, the same comment that I made a year ago. It would be helpful if you published the period 13 financial statement at the same time you published the draft audit report, so that someone who's interested in the details could check the numbers against the audit report. Second, I think there are two factual misstatements in the report. One is on page 8, talks about general fund budgetary highlights. It says that the fire service water flow and infrastructure program has been deferred. I don't believe the program is deferred. I believe the program has been eliminated as a result of the county's management audit. And lastly, on page 18, district officials, there's a statement that talks about apportionment with regards to basis of population. The commissioners were not appointed at the last time in proportion to population. So I believe those two statements are factually incorrect. Thank you.
All right. Corey, will you take those for action in the update to the draft?
Yeah, Jay and I have been discussing it, and we will review before we take anything to Ide Bailey for the final. For the final, correct.
All right.
This is Jay. I'll speak up to that. Actually, I think those two statements are correct as written, and the fire flow has been deferred. That would be the choice that I think is most accurately stated. And the second is that the representation is correct, that Commissioner Spreen was appointed to represent the particular area in question, and that area is designated by virtue of population numbers. So both of those statements from the perspective of the general manager are correct. Be happy to talk to Mr. Epstein, offline and go over any more details if that is helpful. Thank you.
Very good. All right. Thank you, Jay.
Mhm.
Any additional public comment? All right, seeing none. All right. Hearing no further, there's now, we'll now move for a vote. District Clerk Vargas, please conduct the roll call.
President Warren,
Yes.
Vice President Vaughn,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Spreen.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Tonka,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
And the motion passes 6-0 with 1 absent.
Thank you very much. All right.
And
Well,
thank
now
you.
move to-
Oh, sorry, I just wanted
Yeah.
to say thank you to Ahmad for joining us, and then I will be in touch with you. But you don't have to stay on for the rest of the meeting if you do not want to wish to.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. We'll now move to item 6, monthly reports to the county committees. This is item 6. All right. So this is item 6. Item 6A and 6B are the various documents supported to the county by the district to the county. Item 6C is information about the LAHCO countywide service review, community workshop and survey. General Manager Logan, please provide the reports. And I think this would be a good time to address Mr. Epstein's question around the LAHCO feedback.
Thank you, President Warren. Item 6A, the district's August monthly report was presented by discussion to the Hewlett Committee. The slide deck attachment in the materials in the report reviewed progress made on scanning and management of district records. Report to FGOC was by consent. So that's my report on item 6A. And then item 6B, the management audit review of the district's report again stated the district has implemented or is on track to implement the audit recommendations as adopted by the Board of Supervisors. The management audit slide deck states, do not have concerns about the district implementation of the audit recommendations adopted by the Board of Supervisors. I'm hopeful the district October and November reports will conclude the monthly audit reporting process and the recommendations will have been deemed fully implemented. The approval of item 4C, which was done on consent, helps to conclude the records recommendation implementation. And then item 4H is the last part of the records scanning process. From the best we can determine, the only lingering issue that management audit is still looking at is the records scanning and retention process. And so these are the last items that I think will help complete that. Moving on to item 6C, many of you attended the August 25th LAHCO community meeting. At the start of the meeting, there were 89 participants were in attendance, and at the end, 78 were in attendance for about an hour and 20-minute community discussion. Themes of the public comment expressed support for local decision-making, questions and comments about fire protection, requests for the study to include more than rating of efficiency, and successful fire protection requires effectiveness at a higher role. Concerns about dead trees, narrow winding roads present challenges for egress and ingress. And there was encouragement for mapping of fire fuel for some of the topics discussed and public comment offered. As far as the county, Santa Clara County Fire Service Review, I've had no contact from the county about that study. I don't have any update to provide. I can reach out to the county and get a status report and be happy to respond to that at the next or the October meeting. Thank you. That's the end of my report on item 6.
Great. Thank you, General Manager Logan. Is there any discussion from the commission?
Only to say that I know that the records digitization project has been a significant one, and my thanks to all the group that it's probably mostly Corey and Jay, I'm guessing, but having that completed is a big one, both the management audit and just for us as an organization. So thanks for all the work on that.
Thank you.
All right, anything else from commissioners? Comments, questions? All right, is there any public comment on this item? All right, seeing none or hearing none, and there's no further discussion, we'll now move to item 7, which is the Santa Clara County Fire Chief Report. Item 7A and 7B are the reports. Acting Chief Glass, please provide the reports.
Good evening. Hold on, I'm trying to share off my department laptop, but it's locking me out of being able to share the report.
All right, Corey, could you
Corey, do
share
have the ability to share it?
Yeah, Corey, could you do that?
If Victoria can do it as the host. Victoria, are you?
Hey, grab the chief's reports and present them.
Are you able to forward them to me, Chief Glass?
They should be in the.
So the host has disabled screen sharing, and I think that's the problem.
So I have him as a screen share for both. He has 2 monikers here, Glass and Brian Glass. I have him as a co-host for both.
The problem is I'm doing this one on my home computer and this one on my laptop because all the screens, but I got a new laptop and apparently I'm not approved to share.
No worries, I'll bring it up.
Yeah, I apologize. I had some other stuff I wanted to share too, which is I'll see if I can email that because I have a new drawing of Rescue 74.
I want to see that.
Yeah, let me work on emailing that stuff to Corey while we're giving the presentation. I'll start with the brief overview. I can address some of the questions and concerns regarding the county study. It has been begun. They've gone ahead and consulted with Matrix Consulting, and they initially sent us about a 4-page document of data requests, very similar to what the LAHCO study had asked for. My concern was that the staff time going into participating in the LAHCO study did not need to be repeated, as many of the concerns that the Matrix study was asking for was almost identical data we had provided. So the county took that under advisement and reached out and actually had the 2 consultants communicate regarding sharing of the data. So again, they're trying to get together ahead of time because all 10 fire agencies plus 3 or 4 districts, the different cities and towns that already provided a lot of data. It didn't make sense to rerun all the data. But they're only going to come back to us with data that was missing or things that they were pursuing that was different. So again, I have no official correspondence either, other than that was the discussion that I had with the Deputy County Executive earlier in the month. Any luck on being able to share the screen? If not, I can talk through the high level overview of it.
Give me 1 more second.
Okay.
So Victoria, do you know how to enable participant sharing?
Yeah, he's enabled. It's on his end.
The problem's on my IT governance has certain permission sets that you have to be able to have, and apparently this newer laptop does not have them enabled. So we'll get that. It's the first time I've had to share since I got it. Apologize for the delay. We can skip to page 2. No significant events, which would have been identified there in the first paragraph. Our rolling calendar count at the top, 530. We're slightly above where we were in 2020, but still well below our 2019 and 2018 kind of averages there in the high 500s to the mid 600s. So we're still off pace by about 100 calls. You saw we ran about 58 calls in the month of August, which I'll take as a win, considering that we did have a summer month. And again, the numbers are relatively low for August, which again, I'm going to chalk up to being, people are out and about, but they're not out and about in the way that they were. 28 calls for EMS, 21 for service, 4 fire alarms, and that's consistent breakdown what we see, anywhere between 40 to 50%, and sometimes as high as 60 for EMS related calls. We had really good response times. Again, you can see all of our response times are below the threshold that we're shooting for. Urban densities, that's 759, rural densities, 1159. Dollar loss coming in at $7,000. That's for a total of 2 incidents, $6,500 as it related to 20 feet of fence and 1 gate that was damaged by a small fire. And then we have $500 worth of tools and equipment that were on fire outside of a structure. Several programs conducted for the public. We'll scroll down to the map. You can see the disbursement of the calls. There was an email from a member of the public who is on the call tonight that was asking about some clarity as it relates to the EMS calls that are within the Station 8 response area. And this is an excellent question posed by the member of the public. I just want to reiterate that all of the dots that you see on this map that are classified as EMS, fire, hazardous condition, rescue, that is as the call is dispatched. So when you pick up the phone and you say, I have somebody that's choking, that's an EMS call. So it gets dispatched. That's where these data points are coming from. It's call type at time of dispatch. Now, as the call taker kind of dissects the call, asks the further questions, that might actually be, oh, the food came out. It's no longer an EMS call. Patient is breathing. This is a service call only. We're going to continue to check up, but there's no medical emergency anymore. So we would then, on the back end, when the company officer does the report, we would then further clarify and refine this data. So what you're seeing here is call type at time of dispatch. So the member of the public did identify that there were 8 blue dots within the area that is responding to from Station 8. However, 5 of those calls, that engine company was canceled en route for a various reason. Either another ALS engine company ambulance arrived at scene and canceled that resource, or the medical emergency was mitigated, patient self-transported, or it was downgraded or changed call type. So again, the report that we sent as a supplement, which is outlining the Station 8 data, there were 8 calls in the Station 8 area. That is the month of August, which was provided by the City of Palo Alto's Engine 365. There was also a further question from the member of the public who is also on the call tonight, clarifying a response time of 15 minutes, 14 minutes and 59 seconds from the Station 8 location to a call on Page Mill Road. That call on Page Mill Road is at the Los Trancos parking lot at the top of Page Mill. Standard mapping software from the Station 8 to that parking lot shows the response time if you were in your vehicle and you started driving immediately from 15 to 20 minutes. So again, from time of call taking, call processing, ring down, dispatch, turnout time, response time, I think 15 minutes to that location is actually a very positive. And again, that is considered it's not in our urban, it is not in our rural, it is actually in our wilderness response model, which is 20 minutes. So again, I'm happy to take any further questions on those, but I did want to provide that level of clarity. I'll stop and pause and take any questions from the commission.
Any questions from the commission? All right, seeing none, let's move on.
Okay, a really quick, just in closing, I will email tonight, I have a drawing of the new Rescue 74 that is progressing on track, on target, and on time. We expect delivery of that in January. Again, right now we are seeing huge logistical supply chain challenges with parts for apparatus. So we're definitely taking a hard look at that. This will have an impact on the water tender discussion that we were having. The vendor that we typically use for purchase of those apparatus is going through a reorganization. Again, I'm not comfortable with purchasing any more apparatus until we have a clear plan on what that reorganization looks like, and we will be looking for other vendors to fulfill that need. And I'll have a discussion with the general manager in the coming month to move forward with a new plan. There was also a question this evening posed by a member of the public regarding the fuels management crews. Again, that is still on track. We are doing the research with the Los Altos County Fire District to see what that process would look like as a regional partnership model. Again, I did get back some of the data earlier this week. And again, I'll have a follow-up with the general manager. And when we're ready and prepared, we'll bring a report forward to the commission for a decision. There was also a discussion early on from the general manager regarding some funds. I believe this also came from a member of the public who's on the call this evening regarding the $7 million state budget allocation as a result of the work of Assemblymember Lowe and Congresswoman Eshoo. This was a regional budget request that was put forward by the West Valley City managers. It was co-signed by County Fire, and again, they were very successful. Approximately $5 million, I think it's 4 and change, will go to Cupertino for a new EOC or a regional EOC, DOC. Campbell will receive a small chunk for their police department. Town of Los Gatos received $2 million for a wildfire specialist, which is basically a defensible space inspector that will work for the Santa Clara County Fire Department to serve the communities of Los Gatos and several of the other West Valley cities. And Saratoga put in for a, I don't fully understand it, some kind of a small business monetary something. I don't know how to accurately articulate what Saratoga's benefit was, but again, it's available on there. And it was again, just showing the collaboration, the resource sharing, the cost benefit, and again, all in the name of wildfire preparedness. Again, knowing that wildfire does not stop at any one jurisdiction, and we all have a vested interest in making sure that our projects are regionally scoped. I'm happy to take any questions or any follow-up.
Chief, what about 7B Station 8 report?
I did, that was sent and it should have been attached. Victoria, do you have the ability to share that one? And that was the overview that we talked about, which was the 8 calls, 5 of which were canceled en route, 3 of them were EMS. It was staffed by 365, Palo Alto Engine 365, and it should have been submitted in conjunction with the packet.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Comment. So I reached out to Assemblymember Bowman's office to see if there was any grant money that for fire safety that they could help us access. And they have responded back to me saying that they would like to work with us. And if we have any proposal ready, we should send it to them right away from the city, because they would like to put it ahead of the pipeline. So if anybody has any information, any solid proposals, can you please send them to me?
Thank you. All right, Commissioner Tyson.
Yeah, let me just build on that, because I viewed with great interest what they were able to do in the that section of the county, the West Valley cities, and applaud those efforts, and also view with great interest what sorts of things they thought were necessary. And my impression, having just reviewed some of the financial things here, is if we've got an idea, let's do it. I mean, we should apply for any grant that we think would help us, but not to slow down any idea of implementation. We have an unusual situation of having the means, so that would be the approach I would take. And so just one other comment that we heard earlier from a member of the public, Chief, had to do with the use of biodiesel. And I saw his presentation at the city council meeting, and I think this is a really empowered, active, environmentally focused committee that I applaud their activities. So if there's some way to get some feedback on how we could implement that and improve our greenhouse gas numbers within the town, I think that would be, I'd really like to support that. So I'm not putting you on the spot here, just wanted to flag that as being something of interest to me.
No, I appreciate
I too
that.
would support that. I too would support that, and we're very much interested in supporting this group, because I think it's the right thing to do if we can do it.
Thank you both, commissioners. And again, we're already in communication with the gentleman that was on the call earlier today, and we've been working through Supervisor Simidian's office to address the concern with the, and again, I want to make sure I get it right, the renewable diesel. Again, the fire service and public safety is not the place for experimental technology. Again, we do need to do the research and make sure that we have reliability in that product. And again, our fleet services manager and our director of support services are in contact with that gentleman. Great. And up on your screen is the Station 8 report, President Warren.
Thank you very much.
And I can dive in deeper if you'd like to see anything here. But again, the member of the public was correct. There were 8 total responses, 5 of which were canceled en route. And that is that unique corridor where we're going to be getting resources from Palo Alto and Los Altos Hills. And you can kind of look down at those addresses and see, you know, Zepatini Court, Briones Court, Laurel Glen, Page Mill, Alexis, Altamont. Those are all Los Altos Hills responses. So again, it is showing the benefit of where the resources is able to access those specific residences that fall within that 10-minute window where we know we're having difficulty reaching from the El Monte fire station. So I definitely highlight a benefit here.
Very good. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, President.
All right. Is there any further questions or comments from commissioners on 7A and B? All right. Is there any public comment on 7A and B? Yes, Alan. Alan, the floor is yours.
Just one question for the chief. Were there any high fire days during the month of August? Thank you.
Alan, it's a great question. And with all certainty, I can't answer if we had a high fire day in August or not off the top of my head. I can do the research though. I know in July we did have one. So both the chief from Palo Alto and myself, or the duty chief, are in contact with the general manager when we move to a high fire red flag danger day. Man, that's a mouthful. So again, we haven't had that many this year, which is really of benefit. So, but we can circle back and get you that information, sir.
Thank you very much. The reason for my question was that there has just been no billing from the manning of the additional staffing in the Santa Clara County Fire District. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, is there any additional public comment? All right, hearing none, thank you. We'll now move to item 8, General Manager Report. Items 8A through C are the reports. General Manager Logan, please provide the reports. Jay, you're on mute. Jay, you're on mute. Victoria, can you unmute her?
Okay,
Now we can hear you, Jay.
thank you so much. My screen, am I screen sharing now?
Yes.
Good, okay. My screen share was taking over my mute bar and I couldn't find it. So thank you all. This is the General Manager's report for September. And you'll see the photos on the front. This is the masticator that was at MidPen, and the team went over and had some opportunities to watch this little gadget in motion. And it's really quite intriguing what it can do to devour brush in a very short period of time. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But moving on to updates, events, and activities, you'll see that the August 25th meeting, which I've already talked about, was held. And then on August 25th, Captain Gluen and I met with the Los Altos mayors to review the presentation on the strategic community fuel break and fire review studies. On September 9th, there was a presentation by Captain Gluen given to the newcomers group. And September 16th, a presentation to City Council on the Moody El Monte Road update and hazardous mitigation program, along with a conversation about hazardous fuel reduction around trees. And then September 15th, a MidPen and staff tour of the Mora Trail, which is the photos here that you'll see to your right. And then the masticator in action, which is the mobile device for remote control, ability to remove brush, poison oak, hazardous vegetation, and it's mobile to climb hillsides and difficult to reach terrain. So I think of it as a goat mechanized. Moving on, I wanted to give an update on the brush chipping program, and these are figures from April through June. You can see some photos that were taken out and about along Los Altos Hills. And then the program data is total cubic yards, cost of the program, cost per ton, and the residences chipped. We're really very pleased. This month, we had 99 residents in 1 month that wanted to be chipped. So to be able to accommodate efficiently that number of residents, we have some new software that Fire Safe Council is providing for us, and we're mechanizing more and more of what we do with chipping. So that's working out pretty well. And then for the transparency of the cost components, you'll see them broken down there to the total contractor costs, along with Fire Safe Council payroll, Fire Safe Council other. And then Fire Safe Council has an uplift, and this is pursuant to the contract, the agreement signed with Fire Safe Council for these services this year, and 12% uplift on the contractor costs. That has to do with all the bidding and the work with the contractor to have all the records straightened up for the contractor to go out and make the routes through the district, and the software to do that. And then also the Fire Safe Council uplift for the benefits that they pay the employees. And this is all cost driven. Fire Safe Council is not a for-profit, it's a nonprofit organization. And so I think that these are probably some pretty good numbers, given that there's no profit motive here. This is just a recouping of costs from Fire Safe Council for what it costs them to provide this program to the district. So moving on, wanted to mention National Community Preparedness Month in September. This is a national outreach and alert program. And there's some information here, 4 steps for emergency preparedness. So the first week, we're focusing on alert SCC. Second week, to the residents, make a plan. Third week, build an emergency supply kit. And fourth, help your family, friends, and neighbors. And then an update quickly on Moody Almonte Road. This is the banner that went up, I guess, about a week ago now, along Moody Almonte. There are 2 of these, and this is to notify vehicle traffic that there's going to be a pending road project. And then also we're hoping to encourage and incent our residents that live on Moody Almonte to want to become involved in the project. And so there's information here how to contact the district. The banner will be up through October 4th. And another program that we're looking at is a managed service provider for our IT services. And Commissioner Spreen has been extremely helpful, along with County Council and County IT and district staff, to help us identify IT needs, develop a scope of work, and then send it to the county. The county will review that scope and help us search out vendors via an RFP process. And you'll see the scope of work listed here as to the kind of assistance that we need in the district. A lot of this is due to the new software, the new programs that we have, particularly around records. We now have literally thousands and thousands, boxes and boxes of records that are digitized to be able to search, find them, make them available to the public. All of that really takes a back-end IT process, which right now we just don't have. So this is part of a program that I'll be bringing back to you as we get more data and more information on it. And that concludes my remarks for General Manager. Happy to answer any questions from the commission or the public. Thank you.
All right, thank you, General Manager Logan. Any questions from the commissioners? All right, any questions, comments from the public? All right, I'm intrigued by the remote control masticator. That could be fun or be very dangerous, one or the other.
You'll be the first person that we put through the training, President Warren, I promise you. One other thing I wanted to share, let me see if I can stop the share and put up the next one, is really important, and this is Zone Haven. Oh, wrong one, here we go.
I wanted to, Jay, while you're doing that, I do see that Alan's hand is up. I'm not sure if he had a question or if it just didn't get lowered after last time.
Alan, is it still up? Looks like you took it down.
You took it down. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So can you see this screen share now?
Yes.
This is so important. This is Zone Haven, and we are so pleased to have this now being rolled out in Los Altos Hills County Fire District. And these are the webinars that will be taking place. Know your zone, and here we go. I encourage you, your friends, everyone. I'm trying to broadcast this as much as possible for residents to take these webinars. Happy to answer any questions. I don't know if Chief Glass wants to comment on this, but I know this is very much the heartbeat of what Central Fire is doing right now. And I thank you, Chief, for all the outreach that your staff is providing for Zone Haven.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak briefly on it. Again, Zone Haven was the tool that we used for the CZU fire that created a little bit of panic in the Santa Cruz Mountains along the skyline corridor when we put that into a warning state. But again, these zones are pre-designated. They are based on roads and rivers and ridges and places that we can actually make sense of where people live and how they should evacuate and how we can notify them. So it is critical to know your zone. That's the first part. We've done the major rollout and the heavy lift and the creation of the zones and the meeting with all the different folks, law enforcement, the different districts that are involved, as you can see. And again, we're using standardized terminology, how we can safely evacuate, how we can, at a tablet, at a scene, a sergeant or a lieutenant in the field from the sheriff's office with one of our battalion chiefs can decide which zones need to be placed into a warning state or an order state, and then execute and communicate that through our Everbridge platform at County Communication. Again, happy to take any questions and really excited for the partnership and the support. And this is the start of a county-wide rollout. We have received UWASI and Shishgap grant funding for this to be an ongoing project, at least the initial connection of all the different departments in 1 year of service. And then we've secured EMS trust fund money to continue to roll some of these projects forward, these technology-based projects forward. But again, give agencies an opportunity to put this into their budget because we really think this is a critical resource for wildfire evacuation and all hazard evacuation, to be honest.
Yes.
Very good. All right. Commissioner Tyson, question?
I just wanted to comment that it was so heartening to see General Manager Logan and Captain Gluhan's presentation at our last City Council meeting to get the bigger audience. And a lot of these look kind of familiar, and I've seen them before, and it's just so important to hear the same thing a few times and get a broader and broader audience. So that kind of outreach and the connection between the organization, I think, is really important, and I'm pleased to see it advance this way.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, George. Any other comments or questions from commissioners?
And just briefly, I'm sure that the Zone Haven info will be making it onto the editorial calendar for all the social media efforts coming out from the district. So we'll make sure it gets heard.
Thank you, Commissioner Sherlock. Very good. All right. Anything else from commissioners? Any questions or comments from the public on the general manager report?
President Warren, I also have the picture for Chief Glass. Do you want me to show it so you can see it?
Yeah, let's get that taken care of.
This is the new diagram of the Rescue 74 that we'll be taking delivery of hopefully in January of 22 and for an in-service spring of 22. Again, very similar to the resource the Los Altos Hills currently has, but again, new and modern. Again, a different manufacturer. This will be a Spartan cabin chassis built by Smeal. It will have 500 gallons of water, 1,250 gallon per minute pump, Hearst tool, Petrogen, hydrogen, tower light. Pretty much it's a one-stop shop, does it all. 35-foot ladder for those hard to reach spots that we have to get to. Again, we have 3 of these in the district, one in Los Altos, one in Saratoga, and one is Los Gatos, and they serve as the alternate to the truck company in the hilly areas that we serve. So we have some areas identified within the response area, specifically within Los Altos Hills County Fire District, that we cannot access with a ladder truck. And so these units are specially equipped to fill the role of a truck company on our structure fire response strings in the no truck zones. It's getting a little deep here, but again, I just want to make sure you know that all of the residents receive the same level of service. And this is how we modify service delivery to address topography challenges within the district. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Hey, Chief, are they all-wheel steer?
No, Commissioner, they are not.
Gotcha. Okay.
Any additional questions? All right, any questions from the public? All right, seeing none. All right, I think we'll wrap up. That'll wrap up the general manager and the footnote from the fire chief's report. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to item 9, the emergency services manager and community emergency services response team reports. So this is 9A, B, and C. Items 9A and B are the reports. Emergency Services Manager Captain Gluhan and CERT General Analyst Beebe, please provide the reports.
President Warren, thank you. And commissioners, thank you. And public, thank you for joining us this evening. I'd like the opportunity to talk a little bit about some of the activities that I've been doing and then we've been doing as a staff. These are some of the representations of the interactions and collaborations we have going on. Next slide, please. Just that bold up brown corner there, that's that Zone Haven flyer you just saw. Those are monthly meetings again that will be happening through 2022. I will be talking in a little bit lower down about our Saddle Mountain, which we ended up designing around the Zone Haven map. So I'll talk about that in a minute. Some of the regularly scheduled meetings, you can see a lot of these are repeats. I do go on a weekly Zone Haven meeting, get a lot of interesting what other people, I call it, kind of lurking, but I kind of listen to everybody else's questions because it's both the forward facing, there's 2 levels of Zone Haven. There's a forward facing aware, and then there's the actual operational side. So there's 2 different sets of questions going on, kind of outreach, and then ones that are more functional. It's funny, ironic, Chief Kemna is on the call every week from Oregon. So it's interesting to see him, and he brings up some of the things that we found at Santa Clara County with mapping and things like that. So it's a nice resource to also have on those. We are still going to the regional GIS meetings, which again fits alongside with our data management. It is another form of data management that we are doing. It's not exactly the same as scanning and storing records, but it is getting a lot of information onto a platform and historically keeping us organized and record keeping. So thank you again for getting that up to speed. You'll see the benefit of that with more maps as we go on through these meetings. Today we had our PIO meeting, gave us updates on what was going on with COVID vaccinations, the 3rd vaccination rounds that are upcoming possibilities, and just kind of the status update of what COVID. It also is a good forum to talk about getting back to some of the regular meeting schedules and things like that. So all that's being worked on. And there's a rollout for a general Bay Area UASI notification on Alert SEC. So there's some stuff happening on the early warning systems and how those are rolled out to the public also alongside with Zone Haven. Some additional meetings that we had, we've already discussed some of the mid-pin. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but it was a great opportunity to see before and after and getting to watch the little remote masticator work. I've attended a couple of council meetings. We've had multiple, I'll go into the Firewise at the end, Firewise community meetings at Saddle Mountain. We've done a walking survey again of a capital improvement project. Kind of our contribution is increasing the density of hydrants along these capital improvement projects as a district so that we can have that 500-foot. And this is really imperative when people start looking at adding on any kind of major square footage or ADUs, because they have to have that 650 feet from a hydrant to the backside of any new construction like an ADU, which has been kind of an issue coming up. So that's kind of an ongoing improvement. Some ad hoc committee meetings for the hazardous fuel management discussions. And then the LAHCFD meetings, I actually attended a South County and then our regional meeting, and very different questions that came up at the 2 meetings. General Manager Logan already talked about our Los Altos former city mayor meeting, newcomer club, and then the hoedown, which was a very successful event that I think Victoria has a little bit of stuff on that because her certs were in great attendance. So I just wanted to talk really quick about I have some upcoming meetings. Dave is helping interface with Hidden Villa. We're trying to get in there and do some of the projects and preparedness for them and incorporate them in the evacuation route hardening. But I just want to talk really quick about the Zone Haven. When I mentioned Saddle Mountain, they're actually LAHE 005 is their zone. And we've went ahead and incorporated their whole Firewise community as that zone. Initially, we just made it, we're calling it Saddle Mountain still. We just had the Saddle Mountain specific streets, but we had other residents from the Page Mill sides that were interested in joining off Moon Lane, Page Mill area. So we decided to keep the whole zone as the Saddle Mountain initial Firewise community, because the benefit of getting education to all residents in that zone is it's the geographical relationship to each other. That's the whole idea of this grassroots Firewise community. And again, this fits right in line with our strategic planning of having residents be self-reliant. They're doing all the work. We're supporting them and assisting them with the Fire Safe Council. We've had some really good meetings about that. I did see the evacuation route Zone Haven on Facebook today. So that is rolling out to answer Commissioner Sherlock's question. I did see it on my Facebook today and liked it. So everybody get on there and like it if you're whatever media sources you're using. And then the other thing that I just kind of wanted to mention, we were on the town council meeting and they are discussing deputies. Now, when the town looks at deputies, we also have to remember they're in charge of evacuation. So that is a side consideration. As Chief Glass mentioned, that's the interface of who gets Zone Haven in an evacuation going. So as you're considering your coverage and density of coverage, that is a consideration too that was not brought up at the town council meeting, is they are in charge of the evacuations and the logistics. And just from a personal note, my house in the mountains had been evacuated for 17 days under the Caldor fire. And it's very sobering to see a red do not enter tag on your mailbox. And that's how they certify that no one's at your house in an evacuation, in addition to seeing about 100 burnt leaves at your front door. So it's a very sobering experience to have seen a parcel go through an evacuation. Fortunately, my house did not burn, but it's very, very sobering. So enough with the personal stuff. Encourage anybody to get on the YouTube channel. We have Amita's wonderful presentation we saw at last meeting on there on her evacuation was mentioned for the Page Mill corridor. So get on and like that YouTube video. And then if you know anybody that lives on Moody or El Monte Road, please encourage them to consider reaching out and signing up for being participant in the evacuation route hardening. On to you, Victoria. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight. Sorry, I forgot to update the date on my first screen here. Just wanted to point out Merit is a platform we'll talk about in a minute, a CERT platform that works on integrating trainings and recognitions and tracking CERT outside training with FEMA as well. That I'm looking into for our CERT program. Los Altos High School, we have been approved to start a teen CERT club. Yay! So we're going to be on the high school campus in the next month, doing some outreach with the teens there. And then I've been attending some cadre trainings with our VOADs after a disaster and kind of looking at their pre and during and post disaster plans, which has been really interesting. So my regular scheduled meetings, I'm always involved with our CERT program managers in the county. I do a lot of research on our CERT program, and I share that a lot with our partners in the world of CERT in the county. I've been able to kind of push them to go to some events, join some CERT programs, and it's been very beneficial to us all to kind of talk about how we're going to move forward and regionalize. Also keep doing my teen CERT board meetings. I do assist Joan and Lisa in Wild Forest Task Force meetings. Our big push right now is our big event on October 23rd, our wildfire preparedness fair that I'll talk about in a little bit. And then I still continue to meet with Santa Clara County Fire Community Education. I've been working with them closely on sort of what they're doing for Zone Haven rollouts and looking at specifically Los Altos Hills and how we can supplement some of the materials coming out. So it looks like we're going to be, as a district, looking at giving magnets to everybody in the district with their zone. That way they can put it, magnets and stickers, they can put it up on their refrigerator, put on their cups. But really working with them and not to kind of duplicate efforts, but to enhance what they're already doing. also with the CERT programs as well. I've been doing some FirstNet back office training as well, learning a lot about mobile Wi-Fi units and things like that I think would be very interesting for us to look at in the coming months. Mobile Wi-Fi would be great for our, community events. During a disaster, we have our own area we can offer internet on a special line to community members, and also have our own special line. And Chief Glass, thank you. We do have access to Uplift. I meant to send you an email about that. Continuing on, I'm still finalizing silver alert procedures with the town. We are pretty close to having that done. There will be some training involved with our certs. So that is hopefully going to be a better update for you. I'm working with Marcia Hovey and Cody from the town on getting that together. I'm also working with the town on creating a better volunteer matrix. We have people who want to volunteer, but they're not really sure how they can do that. So I'm working with them on getting a new matrix going on, the use of people who maybe don't want to be served, but they want to help out in events, help out for community education, help out at disaster response. So I'm really kind of trying to coordinate with them on getting more volunteer people and kind of capturing those that maybe not want to go through a CERT program. We also launched Teen CERT Academy #2. I got, just from the hoedown, I got 6 Teen CERTs signed up and are already taking the course in a matter of a week. So lots of interest in Teen CERT and interest in CERT program as well. I think we've got 2 people out of that for regular CERT. I was invited to a marketing group in Los Altos for businesses, and they asked me to come. Apparently someone from the town of Los Altos Hills offered me up as a resource for a good marketing idea. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's coming up. Our next big event is the Art and Lawn Festival this weekend. We're ready with new marketing materials, new community awareness materials. We're working on potentially getting a map to show, if we can, this event, if not the next one, show the actual Zone Haven platform on a map for residents that come by that can learn about it, even pre our October big event for wildfire preparedness. So just some things that we've been working on. So I have a very large project list, as you can see here. I'm not going to go through every single thing, but I'm definitely getting pulled in lots of directions that I'm happy to be pulled in. Part of my job as a program analyst is to really look at where we have gaps. I attend a lot of the community meetings that Denise goes to, and Dave and Jay. And what I take from those, I really concentrate a lot on what we can do for our community and residents. So I look at that and think about what kind of materials we can give to our residents to really, complement their knowledge already, and then what other questions they have about our programs and resources that they can find. So I've really been trying to pull those together for these events coming up. On top of that, I've had 2 schools call me that want me to start a Teen CERT program at their school. That's great too, but I think, I only have 2 arms and legs, and it's getting a little crazy with the outreach. I also have been helping with the Fire Safe Council projects a little bit on the back end, looking for, organizing our volunteers to go out and do some community education on that. So, I think it's been really good, but I definitely, going to be needing some help, and I think Jay's going to talk about that next. I have more projects too on this one. So I also have been interfacing a lot with the station crews, talking about what we can do as a district to kind of help them out. They have a lot of people that stop by the station, ask questions about the district and our programs and things like that. So I've been working on some items to give them, as well as some better communication trails for them needing to call people who can make contact for certain things that happen, like hydrants, resident questions about our programs and those things. So I'll be putting up a whiteboard at the station. They also asked to kind of know a little bit more about the people on our board as well, because I realized that since we don't meet in person anymore, they don't know some of the new district staff. So just kind of taking those kind of concerns from them and trying to assist them with that has been a big part of what I've done as well. Also helping with the town on doing a town tabletop drill. Cody's a little bit new at the emergency management realm, and he really wants to learn. And he's asked me to kind of help him create a tabletop drill for the town for emergency response. So with that being said, the last thing I want to talk about, and sorry I take over a lot of your time tonight. Usually I'm not this yappy. So here is our presentation schedule. We are trying to put a twist on the October 23rd preparedness wildfire fair. So thank you to Commissioner Sherlock came up with Are You Prepared, Be Wicked Safe? So we have, I
Victoria,
think, yes.
Victoria, you might not have the right screen up. Were you trying to share something else? You're still on.
Okay, hold on. I got
There you
two
go.
screens going. Hold on, let me go back. Hold on. Hold the phone. Let me get this. Let me go back. And let me just switch my screens really quick. There we go. Okay. Can you see that?
Almost. There you go.
Say, are you prepared to be wicked safe?
Yes, just do it in slideshow and you'll be good.
Okay. See, that's what, yeah. It's because of the way it's here. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So a little bit about our event. It's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. We are really targeting our residents for Los Altos Hills on kind of a one-stop shop on wildfire preparedness. We are making it sort of a family event. We're going to have a costume prizes for a best adult costume and family costume and child costume. We have a little kids zone with emergency preparedness fun. We're going to be integrating with the town on, presenting and really getting the public aware of this preparedness fair. So Alicia Smith has been very instrumental, Deborah Padovan, and Carl Cahill in helping us get this prepared. So we're going to have 5 presenters on the hour in the town council chambers. Everything's going to be at the town hall. So we have PG&E starting off. We have thank you to Santa Clara County Fire Department, Chief Glass, for allowing them to come and talk about wildfire evacuation with Zone Haven. Really appreciate that. They're also going to have a booth there. My big one was getting Insurance Commissioner Laura's office to come they couldn't come in person, but they're coming to do a live stream on wildfire insurance. So they want to have questions from the residents specifically for Los Altos Hills because they want to tailor it to Los Altos Hills. So as commissioners, if you guys have any questions that you want to present to them ahead of time, send me a list and I'll give it to them. And then we have Fire Safe Council coming, and then we also have the fire district kind of wrapping it up. So I'm really excited for that. I think we have 13 or 14 booths already. We've got American Red Cross, Pet Preparedness company to come and talk about pet preparedness. So I'm super excited about it. It's been a lot of planning, but I'm really looking forward to being able to interface with the community. So if anyone could come out and join, we'll be putting out our marketing materials hopefully in the next couple of days. You'll see some banners up around the town, and then also some postcards will go to every single resident. And then we'll be pushing this at the next couple of community education events that we have going on.
Victoria, a quick question.
Yes.
Is this going to be at the Los Altos Town Hall like it says, or is it a typo?
No, it's Los Altos Hills Town Hall. That's a typo.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, Los Altos Hills Town Hall. Thank you very much for pointing that out. Any other questions?
Any additional questions? Question from the commissioners?
George has a question.
Yes, George, go ahead.
You're on mute, George.
It's not really a question. It's more just an observation. And the observation is wow. And that's a lot of things. And so I saw you at the hoedown, and I'll see you at the Art and Wine, and I'll see you at the Wines and Vines, and I'll see you at the Preparedness Fair. And part of why I'm saying wow is all the things going on. Also, what I'm really pleased to hear is several times in your presentation you mentioned, say, Carl Cahill this or Cody that, so the communication and coordination with the town. And so let me share something with you from a different perspective, and that is, I think everybody's aware that our city manager, Carl Cahill, has announced his retirement for the end of October, and we, the city council, have been undertaking interviews of very qualified candidates to take that role. And in a recent meeting, I may have heard in closed session, you have a teen cert? Like, wow, I never even heard of that. And so I think you're just making our whole community look good. And I also see the workload and all of those, and we haven't quite hit this yet. I think it's coming up, but it came up at the city council meeting that the Moody El Monte hardening process has very few of the residents that have signed up so far. And I just wanted to put my hand up and say, if you want to assign, say, 10 houses to me, I'll go knock on their door. And if I can help in that, just take up some of the staff's workload. I'm not saying I'm better at it than you would be, but I just want to say I'm here to help with that.
George, you're definitely you're as passionate as we are, so you'd be perfect.
I think you'd be great too. We'll put your name down.
All right.
Great. Any other commission comments? All right, no further commission comments. Okay, comments, questions from the public. Lisa Schmidt, please.
Hi, thank you. I just want to give a shout out to Victoria and Denise and how proactive they've been in working with the town. You guys are just awesome. I can't imagine what Victoria gets done all day. And you know what? Commissioner Tyson signed up for 10. I'll sign up for 12. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. I'll take 10. I'll take 10. Let's take 10.
Anyway, no, you guys are doing awesome. We really, really appreciate it. And I hope everybody's getting their costume ready for the October 23rd fire fair. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Any additional public comment? All right. Seeing none, thank you, EMS Captain Gluhan and CERT General Analyst Beebe. Is there any, so there's no further discussion. We'll now move to item 9C, authorizing the general manager to hire a part-time contractor. General Manager Logan, please present the item. This is 9C.
Yes, thank you, President Warren. And I think that is a good lead in to this item. And that is, I'm happy to report, as you have heard, the Emergency Services Managers programs in the Los Altos CERT and Teen CERT programs are expanding as more community becomes involved in fire protection for their community and for their family. As you will note in the staff report, there's increased community events, requests for speaking to community and neighborhood groups, increased communications, outreach, educational materials. The Moody Almonte Road project is requiring more staff time for outreach and meetings, door and gate knocking with residents to educate them on the importance of the road evacuation project. It's all good news, but we need more staff hours to keep the projects advancing. So I'm recommending the hiring of a part-time contractor for up to 20 hours per week to assist with projects so that the CERT analyst and the emergency services manager, which is a part-time position, can focus on community contacts. Agenda item 9C, request that the commission authorize the general manager to hire a part-time contractor for a 6-month term. I'd like to try it for 6 months, not to exceed $20,000 at the details, 20 hours per week, $40 an hour, to see how that works and see if we can make that productive to allow more projects to advance. So with that, that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, General Manager Logan. Are there any clarifying questions from commissioners on the proposal to hire a contractor for 6-month trial term, not to exceed $20,000?
Correct. 20 hours per week, $40 per hour.
Very good.
All right. The only thing I would add would be that the motion would include authorizing Chairperson Warren to sign any agreement entered into with the independent contractor. So it's clear that Jay won't be signing and that Director Warren would have the authority to sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Good comment. All right, I'll now entertain a motion, which is 20 hours a week, $40 an hour, 6-month trial term, and not to exceed $20,000 with authorization for President Warren to sign said agreement.
Spring moves.
Thank you, Roger. Need a second, please?
Sherlock seconds.
Thank you, Commissioner Sherlock. All right. The item is now open for discussion. Is there any discussion from the commission?
I'll just say,
yeah, Roger.
I think all the previous slides speak for themselves. How many items are going on and how few people we have. I say, if we can find help for ourselves, I think this is so needed. So
Exactly.
It's great.
Concur. Any additional commission comments? All right, hearing none. Is there any comments or questions from the public on this item 9C, the motion that's now before us? Hearing and seeing none. All right, there's no further discussion. We'll now vote. District Clerk Vargas, please conduct a roll call vote.
President Warren,
Yes.
Vice President Vaughn,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Spreen,
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
Okay, and the motion passes 6-0 with 1 absent.
Great. Thank you. We'll now move to item 10, integrated hazardous fuel reduction projects and proposals. Items 10 and A is a report on the Moody and El Monte Road hardening and evacuation route project. General Manager Logan, please provide the report.
Yes, thank you, President Warren. I'll make a few comments, then ask Denise Captain Lewin to comment, Consultant Barnett to comment, and Victoria Beebe to comment if they would like, if I leave anything out here. But district staff, Fire Safe Council, and consultants Scott and Barnett, and the district team, all of us together, organized the outreach to the residents on the evacuation road project. 2 letters have been sent to property owners announcing the project and requesting right of entry into their property for road hardening. That was conducted on each of the properties. About 15% have responded. We convened the team to reach out to each property resident and owner. We're going to follow up with postcards that will be sent. The roadside banner that you saw in the general manager report is displayed. And after a full outreach as of October 15th, we're going to do a cutoff for the residents that have signed up for the program. Participating properties will be contacted for meetings with each of the team members and to flag the areas for brush removal. Fire Safe Council will conduct the bidding process, hire the contractor, start the brush removal project in November. So with that overview, Captain Gluen, Consultant Barnett, Analyst Beebe, any observations or comments that you would like to add to give the commission an idea of how this project is going? Thank you.
Comment really quick, Jay. So Fire Safe Council's been in charge of securing permits through county roads and airports and also the town. We have every 2 weeks, we have a meeting with Fire Safe Council to discuss the progress. They said, that getting those right of entries onto private property, it so supplements. We have the easement that we can do. We're going to do the easement regardless, but it supplements into the width of what we're doing in vegetation management. So that just improves the evacuation route. So that's why it's a community project. It's not just a maintenance project. So that's where the importance of drawing in the residents to understand that in addition, they get some fire vegetation management in an area that may not be around their defensible space. It's addition to the defensible space that's recommended, the 100 feet. So it's really advantageous for them to participate. And with the interface, we're not going to go in and destroy their plants that they have worked so hard to establish into their landscape. That can be addressed, flagged. The biological reports still need to be done because we are next to a very sensitive ecosystem, being Adobe Creek, and the habitats. That's another important component of this project, is to make sure that that environment is protected. And then one of the side improvements, as we remove dead vegetation, not just reducing the possibility of fire, cooling the route if there was an evacuation or incipient fires, slowing them down. But we also removing that dead vegetation and the vegetation that's too congested or choking, it improves actually the groundwater return. Since we are in a drought year, that is an advantageous component also. Some vegetation is good, more isn't always better. And that's something we have to remember, that Mother Nature would come through and burn on a regular basis in the wildland urban interface. That was a natural thing that happened prior to us going and moving there. Now that we live there full time and those are our homes, we've had to change that. So we have to make up for the property hygiene that Mother Nature would have done in these types of projects. So that's kind of the other component that I wanted to just throw in on this. Thank you. And I'll let the other 2 members of the team speak. Thank you.
Hi, commissioners and public. I just want to add that the ad hoc committee and we as the staff have discussed not just this project, but we also need to think about ongoing projects. When this will, 2 years, 4 years, how often will this need to be done? This is not a one-time project where we will never do Moody Road El Monte again. So that is something that we have been considering as well. It's not just a one-time 2021 project.
I just want to add in my part in kind of being part of the project was really looking at how can we get to these residents. So, really kind of working with Fire Safe Council, thinking of ideas, grassroots is always where we're seeing most people are successful in getting some of these projects done and groups started. So that's kind of been my role in this, and also as a backup in case someone can't make a meeting. And then I'm the sort of disseminator of materials that come in, banners, and making sure they get put up and things like that. So this project is definitely, I usually don't get put on these things, and I think that just tells how large a project it is and how much help that we've needed. And we've definitely had some obstacles, but we're able to overcome them with a lot of communication and staff collaboration.
Great.
I believe that's the end of the report. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, General Manager
Item
Logan.
10A.
10A, thank you. General Manager Logan, Captain Gluhan, Consultant Barnett, and Victoria, thank you for the update. Is there any discussion from the commission on 10A? All right, is there any public comment on 10A? Hearing and seeing none, thank you. It's a great project, and it's really important. And I think it is exactly the kind of activity that the district, can be doing to improve public safety in so many dimensions. So really, really excited by the project. All right, we'll now move to item 10B, the report on the ad hoc community wildfire preparedness plan integrated hazardous fuel reduction subcommittee. Consultant Scott, please introduce the item.
Thank you very much. President Warren, the ad hoc subcommittee has met twice, and we have the chair of the subcommittee, Commissioner Spreen, who will be providing an overview of the work conducted so far. So let me just turn it over to Commissioner Spreen. Thank you.
Okay. Let me make sure. Am I?
You're not in slideshow mode or not in presentation mode.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, let me turn that on. Can you see the slideshow?
No, you're still in
presenter view.
Oh, bring your shoe to the front. How's that?
Nope.
It says it's sharing. Sharing is paused.
You might have to go in and out again, and then go on to that. Yeah, that's.
I'll try one more time.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay. Let me go back here. Okay. Let me bring this to the notes. To some degree, there'll be some duplicate information here, and I'll try and go quickly because you've heard some of this today. Really, the goal of this committee at this most recent meeting was to, and that includes myself, Commissioners Tyson and Kearney, was to review all the various projects that come under this heading, which are a lot of major projects, and discuss how do these things fit together? What are the short-term projects? What are the long-term projects? How do they fit together, and how do we schedule them out? What things do we see that need to be brought to a higher level of commission view? To a large degree, this is more of a status update type of meeting. And so largely what I'm doing here is, in a way, bringing to you the material that both Denise and Dave are accomplishing. So if you have any questions, I'm sure they'll be able to either flesh out or correct anything I say here. I'll try and go through that. Let's see. First thing is update on the CWPP, which of course is the community wildfire protection plans. I don't know why it's coming this way. There were three aspects to these that work is ongoing that Dave has been doing. One is updating using our GIS system, which is getting more and more usage. And I'm really pleased what a beneficial project that has been to bring all our stuff under one roof with JS map updates, because this is how we're going to communicate these things in the CWPP. The second thing is, so let me bring up the, oh, did you lose?
Yeah, we lost the presentation, Roger.
Okay, back to that here. Are the frat maps. Let me get, heck, play from current slide. Is it there?
No.
If I can zoom, okay, let me get back to here again. Sorry about that. You seeing it now?
We're seeing your presentation again.
Okay. Sorry for this. Anyway, the frat maps are, we're waiting for those updates, and those are really California's mapping of where the fire lines are. Every year they update what's happened, what's burned, where are the front lines of the fire, and they do that every year to give us a sense of what's happened in the state. And given that we want the CWPP to sort of fit into the state overall state model, we want to know what's going on with those. And they update those, I think April is when they prepare each New Year's map. And we want to have those and be able to integrate those with our map updates as well. A third thing we're doing is looking for consultants that can help us with fuel and fire weather modeling. We need a scientific model of how things will affect us. You've seen the projects for, which we'll talk about a little more, on the strategic fuel breaks. We need to know, how does fire affect us? And can we really justify what we think is going to happen when fires hit us? So we want some scientific backing on that and some consultants who can help do some modeling for us of how fire would affect our community. Are you seeing the slides change?
No.
Okay.
And you're not in slideshow view.
I'm going to go back to this one more time. Let me try one more time here. Current slide. Back to here. Start to share again. I apologize for that. I assume you see it now?
Yes, you're on. There you go.
Yes. Okay, so you've heard a lot about this over the past few weeks. This is to discuss the strategic fuel break project. You saw the article in the Town Crier, which talked about this as well, and really wanted to talk about the fact that this comes from Mid-Penn's Wildland Fire Resiliency Plan, which I want to stress that this is a long-term project. This is, I've had a lot of neighbors calling me about this, by the way, very excited about it and wanting to know more. And part of what I'm having to express to them is, this is, certainly from our part of their 10-year project is at least a 3 to 5 year project as we look at how this can all get done. This whole project is to expand their vegetation management project, and they're already doing certain things like hardening the Mora Trail. You saw the pictures of the masticator earlier. So they're doing bits and pieces already. But their invitation to others as part of this overall resiliency plan is where this fuel break project has come from. And part of what MROSD has to do is really look at any proposals that come before them and do environmental studies to see how it affects their properties. Because ultimately, they are a land preservation company business, not a fire prevention one. So we really appreciate that they're looking more and more at how to do things in a fire resilient way, but they have to juggle a few other priorities than we do. And there's a trailhead network as well. So the current status of it is we have sent in the proposal, the fuel break. You may have seen the draft copy. We have a more finalized copy that explains the fuel break that we're looking to do with them. And we should point out that I've had neighbors ask me, okay, what is a fuel break? And I said, it's really to do 3 things. It's both a hardened area to slow or stop wildfire, but also key is it allows vehicular access for fighting the fire, and also it allows a way to protect firefighters. So those 3 things together. As you've seen, this goal is to protect our western boundary, really between from one end to the other, from Page Mill Road all the way to 280. And I'll show you that on the map in a second. One thing I've learned from Dave is that the topology for this is important. You can't just go draw a line on a map and say, we'll put a break there. It really depends on how fire moves, where are appropriate places to do it that will make a safe spot to do it. So the fact that I consider the fact that we've even drawn a line to be huge progress, that there's been a scientific way of looking at it saying this can be an effective and beneficial line for us if we can make it happen. A key thing is that this route has been determined collaboratively. Dave and Denise, along with Mid-Penn, along with County Fire. This is really impressive that this is being done in such a collaborative way from the start. We're not banging on someone's door trying to get them to do it. We're all working together at the very beginning. You've also seen us divided into 5 sub-projects, and this is a key thing for us as an ad hoc committee is looking at, this is more than a project that can just be done at one big gulp. How does it divide up? How can we, over the next 5 years, turn this into budgetable items? We can look at the resources we need for these and really make this manageable. So I really appreciate that Denise and Dave are really dividing it into a manageable project. Here's a map, just to give you a sense of it, with some of the major areas. Really, you can see on the left side, there's Page Mill Road. On the right side, all the way to the side, it's 280. And that yellow and black line is the line that has been scoped out. The blue line at the bottom there is our district's boundary. So you can see it actually goes in and out of our own areas. Those other areas being Mid-Penn areas. On the right side, probably some of, I'm guessing, a little Cupertino, and possibly some Palo Altos. There's going to be some other organizations we'll be dealing with to get this line where it needs to go. We couldn't just draw a line where we wanted to put it inside our blue lines. It's where the fire break needs to be. So here are the 5 sub-project areas. You may have already seen those listed before. Key reason I'm listing here is to point out that, I mean, this sort of forms a west to east line here. Some of these are fully Mid-Penn projects. Some of these are areas that involve Hidden Villa. One of them is Hidden Villa itself, which will be working with Hidden Villa directly to talk about their properties. Others working in concert with all 3 groups together. So there's a lot of coordination going to go on in each of these different efforts. Here's the picture you may have seen already. Again, this is looking from the other direction. There's Ravensbury on the left, sort of in the white gray area. The green being the Rogue Valley project with Mid-Penn. The purple or blue, I'm colorblind, being the Roos Ridge area, and then Hidden Villa, and then a Foothills area, covering that entire expanse. And to me, this is what's most impressive, is to say this is one of the most major defensive projects we can do for our town. And I think this has just a huge impact on everybody. I'm just amazed at how people are excited by it. Ones who've read it in the paper, who have emailed me and are asking to know more about it. I think this is really exciting. Status is the proposal is submitted. Dave and Denise have already been doing more detail at the sub-project level. We also talked about how does this integrate with home hardening efforts. We want to be looking for what areas near this fuel break should we be looking at, what areas need to be hardened along those same ridges. So where can we be putting emphasis as the next year or 2 goes along at making sure that all the routes are done together. A key thing is discussing what resources can we provide in this effort. There's some equipment that no one has that could really make this effort doable. Can we look ahead and figure out what we could provide as a resource to both for this project and for other projects around us, both for ourselves and for the other regional entities. Also evacuation routes. We've already talked about this a bit. The fact that the permission process is going on and got some more volunteers to help increase that low response rate. It was understanding to me that whatever we can get, we'll get. Come October, we're going to do what we're going to do. And it's going to be a week's worth of hardening work, and we can get as many residents involved as we can, and we'll see how that goes. And this is not a one-time project. As Dave said earlier, we'll have to come back around this in a couple of years, and hopefully we'll have learned something from here on both how to educate people on what needs to be done. I think more people will have seen what it actually means and they won't be scared of it. And hopefully as time goes by, we'll be able to harden it more and more with different iterations. There are other evacuation routes that are also part of this overall project. Dave's and Denise have divided them in sort of east and west route hardening, which would include hardening the routes, emphasizing residential chipping and home hardening along these same areas. The east portion is Loyola, West Ravensbury, Olive Tree Lane area, that portion of town. The west area being Hidden Villa, Foothill Preserve area, and the Roos Ridge area. So these will be areas for will get focused after the Moody Road hardening. Chipping, we talked about also, won't spend time on there. It's going strong. More and more people want it, and we're even getting new software to help manage that effort. Finally, we talked about what other work under this heading do we need to look at sort of in a longer term. And we identified some other cooperation opportunities. One is the 280 corridor, and everyone knows how difficult it's been to get Caltrans involved, but it's something we really need to start at least trying to bang on the door on that, because that's a key part of hardening our town, is getting 280 in better shape. And also looking at the rest of the boundary that's a lot of it's shared with Palo Alto, and really opening those conversations as well. And again, additional work is trying to figure out our equipment needs overall for all of these projects, and seeing what can go into the budget for next year. What are we needing in the short term, the short time frame, or the long time frame? We can already get into the budget since we're already coming from budget time starting this month and next month. So that's what we talked about in the subcommittee. We'll be meeting again next month, presumably, to sort of check on the status of these things and see what obstacles are rising, especially now that more detail work is being done on each one. So I apologize for any duplication of discussion, but it's a lot of complicated things going on right now.
Very good. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Consultant Scott, Commissioners Tyson and Spreen. Is there any discussion from the commission on this? Is 10B?
Not except that I think that all the commissioners would like to get a masticator first when they come to the order.
Yeah, I just want to add that, this is impressive, and I'm glad you're putting the framework in place for this. And I look at the project with Mid-Penn, and I look at that and go, that's going to be like painting the Golden Gate Bridge. Once you get to one end, you're just going to turn around and you're going to go back to the other end, and you're going to go back and forth, back and forth. Dave, did you have a comment or question?
No, I just wanted to add one thing, and thank you for the report, Commissioner Spreen, and putting this together and supporting the efforts, Marcy. I just want to make one comment on this, on the FRAP map update in the CWPP. There are multiple components to what CAL FIRE does in the updating of the map, and the fire history of the year is a part of that. The really critical piece, which we're waiting on, which may come earlier than April, is the state's designation of very high and high fire areas in the state. They are redoing the whole state's very high hazard areas and high fire, very high fire hazard areas and high fire hazard areas, and moderate and low throughout the whole state. And so that means a lot for code. That means a lot for a lot of things when it comes to our programs. And so basing the CWPP on an updated California FRAP map for the very high and high fire hazard areas is an important leg, which we plan on having our CWPP stand on, Annex 4. So I just wanted to add that as a comment.
Very good, thank you. All right, any further commission comments on 10B? All right, we'll take comments from the public. Alan, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Two comments. One, I asked about at previous meetings about the LIDAR data and the utilization of that LIDAR data in the CWPP. I didn't hear any mention of that. Second, I'd like to talk about the fuel break that's being designed, and I'm glad you're looking at it from a long-term standpoint, but I would appreciate you take a look at installing tanks, water tanks throughout the fuel break area. This is a long-term project. I look at this like the Great Wall of China or the Maginot Line. We ought to put in place every defensible piece of equipment that makes sense to be deployed. I'm certainly no expert in that area, but every time I see them fight fire, they fight fire with water. And we're talking about buying a water tender that can transport water. So it seemed to me it'd make a lot of sense to put 1,000, 2,000 gallon tanks every 1,000, 2,000 feet along that trail or along that road, so the firefighters would have the resources available to them that they could use to put out fires. Whether the pumps and so forth are part of the equation, or whether they come with the trucks, it doesn't, I can't say which makes more sense, but I'd like you to consider looking at tanks along that line. In addition to that, as you know, the water districts have their tanks at the top of hills. And as it turns out, the top of those hills are really on the ridge lines adjacent to the town. And there may be some opportunities to provide resources from those tanks directly into the firefighting area. As I say, this is a long-term project. This isn't going to be the last year there's going to be a need for firefighting. So it might make real sense to make a major investment in providing water resources to fight a potential fire. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Any additional public comments? All right. Thank you very much. If there's no further comments, we will now move to item 11, district hydrant and related infrastructure report. Items 11A and C are updates on various hydrant related projects through the district. General Manager Logan, please introduce the items.
Yes, thank you, President Warren. And again, this is a good segue because we've just talked about the importance of the fuel break, and now we're going to talk about the importance of the district's hydrant and its related infrastructure. So engineering consultant Jeff Tarantino is on the call with us today. And Jeff, I'll just give you a quick introduction, then ask you to take us through items A, B, and C, because these are projects that you're working on behalf of the district. With item A is with Prisma Hills Water District. Item B is with the town of Los Altos Hills, and of course the district. And then C is with the town of Los Altos Hills. So Jeff, with that, are you available, and can you lead us through this discussion? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, General Manager Logan. Good evening, commissioners. I will share my screen. And apologies if it looks like I've got a super bright light on me, but apparently I have not enough background light. So thank you, General Manager Logan. We do want to talk about a few items related to fire hydrants that have occurred since the last meeting. First, Prisma Hills Water District is in the process of completing the design of what they call their DEPS project. So there are 4 streets in their system where they will be doing water main replacement. Emergency Services Manager Gluhan did speak earlier about the site walk that our teams performed on August 20th to review each of the limits of work. On the screen here, I just have one sheet from that was shared to us by Pockport Consulting Group, the design team for Prisma Hills for the Duval Way water main improvement. And you can see we're looking at replacing fire hydrants that may be old or need to be relocated. And as Denise spoke about, we also are looking for opportunities to increase the density of fire hydrants to improve fire protection. So we'll be continuing to collaborate with Prisma Hills as they finalize their design, and we'll be bringing back to the commission an update as Prisma Hills gets closer to implementing the construction project. The next item is the Duval Way and Robledo Road hydrant leak. So during our site visit on August 20th, our team noticed a hydrant at the intersection of Duval and Robledo that had a very small leak at the base of the hydrant. So it's hard to tell in the photo there in our incident report, but there was essentially a small leak coming from the 2 bolts there in the photo. So utilizing our on-call emergency services contractor, C2R Engineering, we were able to document the issue, provide a scope to C2R. C2R provided us a reasonable cost proposal. The work was issued, and C2R went out there, bolted, basically tightened the 2 bolts, and the leak was resolved. So we were happy to have a kind of an easy access resource like C2R to be able to resolve what was a fairly minor issue, but if left unmanaged could have become a larger issue in the future. Just a brief update on the Horseshoe Lane parcel project. So this was, a while ago, there was a hydrant break caused by car damage. That hydrant break, until the water was turned off, did cause some erosion on the district-owned parcel at Horseshoe Lane. We have a design to repair that erosion. In the process of securing the final grading permits from the town, there was some changes to the project the town requested. Those changes have been made, and earlier this evening, commissioners approved the change order for the work with C2R. C2R is ready to perform the work, and so we do anticipate work occurring in October and getting that slope erosion protection reinstalled and ready for the upcoming winter season. And then finally, ongoing coordination with our team at the town. The town will be implementing their annual street resurfacing project. So as part of street resurfacing projects, depending on the pavement method, the project may result in actually changing the finish grade of the roadway. So in areas within the project limits that will change the finish grade of the roadway, the contractor will, after the paving is complete, will have to come back and actually adjust the covers of the the fire hydrant valve. So essentially, the covers for our valves are in the roadway most of the time, and by adjusting the height of the road, we need to do a comparable adjustment to the valves. The valve cover is at the surface. So the town did go through a public bidding process. Bartolotto Construction Company was the low bidder. They've now entered into a contract. And so we are coordinating with Bartolotto to develop a cost to raise only the district owned fire hydrant valve covers as part of the paving project. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, General Manager Logan and Consultant Tarantino. Is there any discussions from the commission?
Chair Warren, can I just make a quick comment?
Go ahead.
I was just going to mention that the work that was to be done by Bartolo in contract with the fire district is under $10,000, just so the board knows the kind of money we're talking about. And because it's under $10,000, we didn't have to go through a public bidding process, and it makes a lot of sense to use the same contractor to do that work. So I just wanted to let the commission know that it's a relatively small amount of work. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, any questions or comments from commissioners? Hearing and seeing none. Any public comment? Yes, Alan.
Just like to suggest that if the district would allow would allow Parisma Hills Water District to put the sensors on the caps of the hydrants, as they've asked 2 years ago, that leak would possibly have been found much earlier. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there's no further public comment, we'll now move to item 12, which is the financial consultant and district clerk report. Items 12A is the FY 2022-23 budget development memorandum report. Financial consultant Vargas, please present the report.
Great. Thank you, President Warren. And I just want to point out real quick for item 12B, which I will be getting to shortly. It does say appoint the standing budget subcommittee for fiscal year 22. That should actually say 22-23 because we're setting up for the next fiscal year that is yet to come. So I did give a fiscal year 23 budget development memorandum report. It was sent to commissioners earlier today and uploaded to the agenda packet on the website. Each year, the County Board of Supervisors requires the district to provide a budget to the County Office of Budget Administration, which is called OBA. And it's we're expected to show the expected revenues and expenditures for the upcoming fiscal year. And last year, as you'll recall, the commissioners appointed a standing budget subcommittee who met with staff at a public meeting to discuss and develop the current year's budget, the fiscal year 22 budget. That was subsequently brought before the entire commission for approval and adoption, and then was sent on to OBA. So we're going to discuss formation of the standing budget subcommittee for the upcoming fiscal year 23 in item 12B shortly, as I stated. Now, one of the objectives of strategic plan goal number 6 is to provide ample time for the budget development and also encourage commissioner involvement. And in the memo report, I provided a budget development timeline that recommends more public meetings of the budget subcommittee be held. And it also opens us up for the possibility of having a special meeting of the entire Board of Commissioners in December. And that would be devoted strictly to discussion of the budget items. I recommend December as the month because that is when we receive the initial property tax revenue forecast from OBA. It's also recommended in my memo report that the commission direct the general manager to convene with staff and consultants to help develop the budget process and lay the foundation for an initial draft budget for the standing budget subcommittee to build off of. So that's the end of my report. Before we go to discussion, I just wanted to see if Roger had any additional comments since he's overseeing the strategic plan goal number 6.
No, I apologize for not getting back in writing. It looks fine with me. I think that the timing looks good, and I appreciate the detail you put in the memo to specify it.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Yeah, so I just wanted to sort of bump off the commission, like I said, the December special meeting, that idea, if what others are thinking about that, what your comments are on that. So opening it up. Thank you. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, District Clerk Vargas. Okay, so discussion comments from the commission on the memorandum report on the budget process. Comments from the commissioners? Questions?
I'll just repeat that the goal of, the basic change to what we've done in the past is trying to provide one more opportunity for the entire commission to get involved earlier in the budget process than we have in the past. So there couldn't be any less of a chance for people to feel they weren't involved and they're getting a budget that's so detailed and done they don't feel that they've had a chance to really affect it. So that's that was the reasoning behind wanting to create more commissioner input early on. But again, with the increased amount of public meetings with the ad hoc subcommittee, that may or may not be necessary, but that was the intent.
Great. Thank you, Roger. Any further commission comments on 10? Excuse me, where this is 12A? All right. If there's do we have any public comments on 12A before we move to 12B? All right. I see none. I don't hear any. So we'll now move to item 12B, appointment of the Standing Budget Subcommittee for FY 22-23, subject to the Brown Act. Financial Consultant Vargas, please introduce the item.
Okay, thank you, President Warren. So item 12B, it is recommended that the commission appoint a standing budget subcommittee subject to the Brown Act and made up of 2 to 3 members, which is less than a quorum of the commission, for development of the district's fiscal year 23 budget. And that is the end of 12B for me.
All right. Thank you, Corey. Are there any clarifying questions from the or discussion from the commission on forming the budget subcommittee at this point? Pretty straightforward. Okay. All right. The focus of the standing budget subcommittee will be limited to the review of the FY 22-23 budget. As a standing subcommittee, it will be subject to the meeting rules required under the Brown Act and will be made up of less than a quorum of the commission if there are 3 or fewer members. If the commission is amenable to the creation of a standing subcommittee, I will accept volunteers for said subcommittee. Who wants to be on the budget subcommittee? Don't all jump at once. No one? No one's going to volunteer for the budget subcommittee?
It's really fun.
I know, Corey, I wouldn't take this personally. Don't take this personally, Corey.
Yeah, I mean, I I've been on it the past few years. I will participate again if needed. I was kind of waiting to see if others wanted to be involved in that process first, since we have some other people on here. Again, a lot of, I'll just stop there. I will be involved. I'm happy to have someone else take leadership, just because I don't want to, I've done it for a few years, and don't want anyone to think I'm hogging the gavel.
I don't think anyone would accuse you of that, Roger.
No.
Melvin, any interest?
I served on it also for like the last 3 years or 2 years or so. And so I'd love to be able to pass the opportunity on to someone else.
All right, all right. Joan, any interest?
I believe my strengths lie elsewhere. Otherwise, I'd be happy to help out if nobody else goes for it.
All right. Kavita, any interest?
I'm with Joan. Not sure that's my strength.
George?
I've got this disease, and it's called not being good at saying no.
No.
And so I'm and so budget things kind of are my strength. I just feel like I've done a lot of this before, but I won't leave Roger hanging.
Okay.
And so there you go.
Thank you, George.
That's saying yes, but I'm already sorry, but you know what? I am what I'm like Popeye. I am what I am.
I appreciate it.
What do you think the hourly commitment per month would be, Corey? What's your guess?
Well, and it depends. I know that we're looking to open up to having more meetings. So in the past, usually I think we only had one meeting, and a lot of the work was done sort of by Jay or myself, and then presented and then discussed at a public meeting. So I, of course, am happy to, if the commission wants to give their authorization to the general manager and staff to do the load of work. Numbers are my thing. So I'm happy to do a lot of the hard work in sort of laying the foundation. But yeah, I don't imagine monthly that it would be, if we have one meeting per month, that is an hour, 2 hours.
Yeah, the experience, it really has not been a large amount of labor, except for Corey, of which it's huge. And really the goal is, in the past, it's been the way of trying to bring the commission's overall sense of priorities into the budget and get an overall direction. And part of the focus here now is to sort of get the commission involved together doing that, which in a way makes it even a little easier for this budget subcommittee, so that it's not falling on our shoulders to do that. So I wouldn't let the workload of this scare anyone, because that really is not the issue. And it's really more about how do we help the commission bring the priorities appropriately into the budget process, so that Corey can do all this incredible amount of work to make everything work out.
Then I'd be happy to participate
Thank you, Joan.
as a junior member in training.
And let me just also throw in, it's not really the workload that frightens me. It's just a little bit of the timing. And just so you know, I'm teaching my class at Berkeley. It's there in person. I have quite a drive to get to this meeting home in time. And so my schedule opens up starting mid-December until late August. So to the extent the work is in that, I'm a little fuzzy on the time frame. In the past, it always was in the spring, but I think you've moved it up forward a little bit here. So just to keep that in mind.
Thank you, George. All right. With that, I'll now need a motion from the commission to create a standing budget subcommittee for FY 22-23, subject to the Brown Act, with Commissioners Spreen, Tyson, and Sherlock serving. I need a motion.
The question is, it standing or ad hoc?
It's
standing, so it is subject to Brown Act rules.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Corey.
So moved, Commissioner Tonko.
Thank you, Kavita. I need a second.
Second from Vaughn.
Thank you, Melvin. All right, the item is now open for discussion. Any comments or questions from the commission? Any comments or questions from the public? Seeing none, we'll now vote on the creation of the standing budget subcommittee with the commissioners Spreen, Tyson, and Sherlock. District Clerk Vargas, please conduct a roll call vote.
Yes, President Warren,
Yes.
Vice President Vaughn,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Spreen,
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
Okay, and the commission has approved creation of the standing budget subcommittee with Commissioners Spreen, Tyson, and Sherlock serving. That's a count of 6-0 with 1 absent.
Very good. All right, the commission has approved the creation of the standing budget subcommittee with Commissioners Spreen, Tyson, and Sherlock serving for the count. Oh, that was you. I'm reading my script here. All right, thank you, Commissioners Spreen, Sherlock, and Tyson for your participation in the standing budget subcommittee. We'll now move to item 13, enactment of Assembly Bill 361. Item 13A is a report. Lead Deputy County Counsel Cheladin, please present the report.
President Warren and Commissioners, I've learned from my one of my managers at County Council, who's a former journalist, not to bury the lead. And the lead is that the legislature acted in the last few days and Governor Newsom signed in the last few days Assembly Bill 361, which under certain circumstances authorizes a continuation of remote meetings and amends the Brown Act for those purposes. So essentially, as everyone knows, in March of 2020, the governor issued an executive order that put into place exemptions to the Brown Act that allowed us to have these remote meetings. And then there was a subsequent order that extended the previous order until September 30th. So we've all been sort of wondering what was going to happen after September 30th. And the legislature overwhelmingly passed legislation that Governor Newsom signed just late last week that essentially allows the status quo to continue with some modifications, which I'll talk about in a second. But in terms of the October meeting, one of the requirements would be for the October meeting that there be social distancing, either recommendations or mandates in place, and that the state of emergency would be continued. The state of emergency has been continued, and I am reporting tonight that late today, Dr. Sarah Cody issued a public health order.
Chris, you're freezing.
Sorry, is it working now?
No, you just said Dr. Sarah Cody and then you froze.
Okay.
You're back now.
You're back now.
Okay, so Dr. Cody essentially issued an order recommending social distancing for purposes of public meetings. And the reason why that's significant is now that that's in place prior to September 30th, it means that under the statute, our next meeting, because that order is in place, is allowed to be remote. One big change from the executive order is that the legislation requires that every 30 days during the state of emergency that the board make continuing findings, essentially that there are social distancing measures in place and that there be a vote by a majority of the board members that the remote meetings continue. So what I would expect to happen is that the next meeting in October will be remote, and on that agenda will likely be a consent item where the board can vote to essentially recognize that and I'm assuming that social distancing measures by Dr. Cody will continue to be in place to allow for the following 30-day period to also have remote meetings. So we're going to have to keep doing this. And then I think Governor Newsom also wanted each legislative body to decide for itself whether it would continue the remote meeting. So it would have to be a vote of the majority of the members, essentially every meeting for the next meeting. There also, even if there wasn't social distancing measures in place, it also allows the legislative body, or in this case, the condition, to make findings that emergency measures continue to directly impact the ability of members to safely meet in person. So even in the absence of Dr. Cody's order, which I expect to stay in place for the next several months, each individual legislative body could make its own findings. So my sense would be that I know from my office, James Williams and others, that we're rolling out the necessary paperwork for all of our boards and commissions, including the Board of Supervisors, to continue meeting remotely for the foreseeable future because of the Delta variant and concerns that Dr. Cody have and others have around holding large scale public meetings. There are some tweaks to the meeting requirements that the bill has put into place that I'll be working with staff on to make sure that we comply with. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Sheldon. Is there any discussion from the commission? Yeah, George.
That advice I just heard from Chris is exactly what we heard for the city council. That we would have a monthly item on consent to vote for the next month's continuation of the remote meeting.
Okay. Yes, Melvin?
Chris, are we allowed to do like 3 or 4 months at a time vote, or we have to do it every single month?
The legislation says every 30 days during the emergency or during the period in which local officials have imposed recommended social distancing measures, the legislative body acting under the teleconference exemptions must make findings about whether the circumstances continue to exist. So it's going to be every 30 days or every meeting.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Other questions from the commissioners? All right, any public comment on item 13A? All right, seeing none, thank you. We will now move to item 14, commission member reports. This is the opportunity for commissioners to provide reports or request any future agenda topics. Are there any comments from the commissioners? None? All right, thank you. Is there any public comment on this item? Thank you. Hearing none. We will now move to item 15, which is adjournment. This concludes the September 21st, 2021 regular meeting of the Los Altos Hills County Fire District. The meeting is adjourned at 9:08 p.m. The next regular meeting will take place via Zoom, October 19th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Cert General Analyst Beebe, please stop the recording.